Fred in Minnesota says, I'm wondering if I really need my financial advisor. In addition to my 403B and my wife's 401k, we have Roths, 529s, HSAs, and brokerage accounts. About a third of our money is invested with my financial advisor's firm and the rest through Vanguard or our employers. I'm just not sure I need that guy. He's a fiduciary, he's trustworthy, and he knows all of our assets, but frankly, I know my own investments through Vanguard outperform him and cost less. The main reason I hang on is I'm thinking that with all our investments and passive income streams, it might be harder during the decumulation stage than it has been in the accumulation stage, avoiding unnecessary taxes, etc. What do you think? Do you have a guy? Do I need a guy?
Okay, great question. And guy is an expression because many people in financial services now are women.
Good friend who is a female financial planner.
So, Fred, making this decision is, first of all, in the decumulation phase, as you perfectly pointed out, that's when a financial planner proves his or her worth the most, because that is the hardest part of the whole thing for people who are conscientious about saving money and are well diversified is, how do I then spend it? How do I know what I can safely spend? How do I deal with the tax implications? What it might mean to what I have to pay for Medicare Part B. There are all these things that come later afterwards, so you want to make sure you most efficiently use that money going forward. And that's when, and then all the estate planning that's important later in life, that having a good fee-only financial advisor becomes very important. You have realized that the fees you're paying to this advisor, because they're so much higher than the fees you pay for Vanguard, over time, you'll end up with more efficiency with the investing through Vanguard than you would with the fiduciary fee-only financial advisor. So what you could do is you could hire a Vanguard fee-only financial advisor through personal advisory services. The maximum you pay through that, I think, is 0.30%, less than 1/3%, versus the 1% you're typically paying to a financial advisor. And you could look at that since you are already embedded so heavily in the Vanguard system. Or you could choose to handle your own investing till later in life when you would want to hire someone to provide that advice, either on a fee basis, paying a fee-only financial advisor for hourly ongoing advice, or one-time advice as you need it episodically. Any of these things would work, but right now it sounds like you're not that jazzed by who you're using right now for the advice with the financial advisor.
Dana in Pennsylvania says, last November, my family visited Italy and rented a car to be more mobile. Of course, we had read the horror stories of renting a car in Italy, but as seasoned European travelers who have rented cars in numerous countries without issue, we decided to stay our course. 11 months later, we received a traffic violation in the mail for my husband traveling 3 kilometers over the posted speed limit.
Oh, come on. That's, what, 1.8 miles over the speed limit? You got to be kidding me.
Based on the current exchange rate, the ticket cost is roughly $45 if paid within 5 days of receipt. The cost increases to approximately $100 for non-payment. It does look as if the ticket has been sent by a collection agency on behalf of the Florence Police Department, as I know is usually the case. It can be paid online via the website, and they give the website. Should we pay the ticket and chalk it up to a lesson learned, or is it okay to ignore?
Wow, we get so many questions about the tickets driving in Italy, or sometimes other places in Europe, but generally Italy. And they don't make it easy for you to comply. And the tickets most often are for driving on a street that tourists are not allowed to drive on, that you only know from a symbol that will be as you enter the street, and many times you can't even avoid it. So this is your call whether you would pay it or not. The consequences, there's zero to your credit. I don't know of anything that anyone's ever had happen to them if they didn't pay one of these automated Italian tickets that people get. So it is your decision whether or not you choose to pay it. There will be no consequences that I'm aware of if you don't pay it. So this is your decision what you decide to do.
Came in from Rebecca in Georgia. I've been a longtime online bank user. I've also held a traditional set of accounts at Wells Fargo, primarily because when I set up the online banks, originally they required a link to another bank to find them, and occasionally I have a need for a notary. I've also been using the checking and debit card recently to segregate funds for a family member who struggles not overspending on credit cards. So the bank is now imposing fees, which I've never had with them. I'm exploring other options. My question is there any reason to need a brick and mortar these days, or can I go purely online?
Great question. Banks are closing branches as fast as they possibly can. The only exception has been Chase Bank, that has been the complete marvel of the industry with how they are still opening branches, using them almost like billboards, having them open. But my question for you, other than the notary, which I'll tell you with notaries, there are now notary services all over the country that when you need one, you just hire one. It's really simple. Yeah, you're going to pay them some money, but nothing compared to what you're having to pay in all those monthly bank fees to a giant monster mega bank like Wells Fargo. I asked you, how routinely do you ever go to a bank branch? I don't have a bank account with any bank, but my credit union, I'm never there. Never. I do the equivalent of banking with Charles Schwab. Maybe I'm in a branch once every 18 months. And they don't have many offices in a city because they know most people are never going to walk into one. So I think you're absolutely fine today if you answer, yeah, I'm really never going in a Wells Fargo, to dump them, dump their fees, go to an online bank where you don't have any of those fees.
This is from Chelsea in Minnesota. The last day I saw one of my 2 car keys was months ago. I have thoroughly searched my house many times, but still haven't turned up. We would like to sell or trade in the car as our teen son is getting too tall to sit in the back seat. Most places or individuals want 2 keys for the largest sale value. It costs several $100s to get the key replaced at a dealership. I see ads for online and in-town locksmiths who may be able to program my fob for less, but I don't want to waste money on something that doesn't work or risk having someone make a copy for themselves and come steal my car from my driveway. What's the least expensive and most trustworthy option for getting a car key with a fob replaced?
Okay, this is a wonderful question, and the marketplace has changed on this. There are now companies that all they do is do this. They are mobile services. People who shop regularly at discount stores and warehouse clubs will see their road shows that set up at a Sam's Club, a Costco, a Walmart, whatever, and they make the key right in front of you. They program the fob right in front of you, and they are all priced at a fraction of what it is to get a replacement fob programmed at a dealership. You can order a blank fob. If you've lost the fob like you have, you could order a blank fob online for a much lower price and pay the dealership programming fee. A lot of cars, though, now have the ability to program the one you order self-service instead of having to program at a dealership.
I've also taken the fobs I ordered online to the locksmith, and they've done it.
And they've done it. So this is something that's gotten much easier. If you are a Sam's or Costco member, they will put for your local club, usually online, what road shows roadshow events, and when they're happening. You may well see that your local club is having a fob event as one of their events, because there's so much demand for this, because who has not lost a key to a vehicle?
All right, here's a question from Thomas. He says, I'm trying to sell my own vehicle. I know I have to be careful of scams. People are asking for the VIN number. I'm reluctant to give that out until they can and tell them they can get it when they see the car. What do you think about handing out your VIN?
Okay, so Thomas, this is funny because we're on two different sides of mentality about this. I always tell somebody looking for a used vehicle to get the VIN because, and if you look at any used vehicle seller online now that's a dealer, almost always they list the VIN number there. So if you want to, before you would ever go look at the vehicle, you can run vehicle title history. We have a way for you to do that for free on Clark.com, but you could buy temporary access to one of the VIN check services. And what you're seeing there, you're seeing if a vehicle's been in a major accident that was reported in the insurance industry database, or the wreck is really important, or the title history. And so there's very useful information there, Thomas, that people want to see. And it's not necessarily for some bad purpose they're asking. It's actually protecting themselves. I remember years ago when Krista was trying to buy a vehicle, a used vehicle, and she would call up people who or send a message asking for the VIN. And what would you say, 90% of the people you called hung up on you?
No, I would say in that point, maybe like half of the people just were like, no, wouldn't give it to me because there were bad ads. But then when I had the cars inspected, most of them failed the inspection.
I remember. How many inspections did you pay for before you found a vehicle that was okay? Was it 3?
It was 4, I think.
4.
So, because I did a total of 5. Yeah. So I paid for 5, but 4 didn't work out.
And so that's what you need to know. Why is it I'm so insistent about you having a used vehicle inspected is one of the most important parts of buying a used vehicle, because used vehicles have histories and a lot of times they're not so good. And so having it inspected as part of purchasing one is so good because there is no lemon law except I think in 3 states for buying a used vehicle. You buy it, whatever problems there are, and the courts have made it clear that no matter what somebody tells you, it does not matter. And the sticker, if you go to a dealer, says as is, no warranty on almost all of them. And it even says in there you can't rely on anything said to you. Anything you do, buying one is your problem. That's why having the mechanic inspecting the vehicle of your choice is money well spent, because you think, why did I spend the money for that? The mechanic said the car is good. Yeah, that's why you spent the money.
Janae in Illinois says, hi, Clark. On a recent podcast, you discussed the need to obtain credit cards before you retire in the event your level of earnings in retirement will not qualify for a new card. I was wondering if the same concept applies to home equity lines of credit.
It does.
If we have significant equity in our home, is it advisable to open a HELOC on the home in the event it's needed at some point in the future? Are there fixed rate HELOCs that can be locked in on a rate, or are they always variable based on when you draw on it? Would a 5-year or a 10-year term be recommended if this approach is advisable?
Okay, so Janae, very interesting question, and you are right that for people that are actively working but are looking forward to retirement, you have a lot of equity in your home. Just as you mentioned, I want you to make sure you have the credit cards you want while you're still working, because you may not qualify for them in retirement. Same thing with the HELOC. Now, you're talking about a HELOC, and also at the end, you're talking about what's known as a home equity loan. They're very different products. A HELOC is a standby line of credit for a certain amount of money that they'll grant you that you can draw on very easily when you need access to funds to do an improvement at your home or something like that, whatever it is. I want it only used to improve your home. People use HELOCs for a variety of non-domicile functions. I don't like that. But anyway, the HELOC is always a floating rate because it is a line of credit, and it's set typically based on the prime rate. They tell you which prime rate they go by, plus an index added on to it, plus a spread. And so the rate changes as often as every 30 days on the HELOC. You set up the line depending on the credit union you use, and you should go to a credit union first to look for a HELOC because almost always the terms are more favorable than they'll be at a bank. And they will tell you you get this line of credit established for whatever period of time they tell you it's for. A home equity loan's a whole different thing. It's one you draw on and then you pay for it at a fixed rate for most common 5-year term. You can do 5, 10, or 15, but the interest rates tend to be very unfavorable on a 10-year payback and way unfavorable on a 15-year. So doing the HELOC before you retire is a great idea, even if you have no immediate need for the funds, because if, let's say, suddenly you need a new roof and you're retired, the HELOC becomes a good source of funds potentially to replace it. Or you need a new furnace, or you need a new heat pump, or whatever it is. And so your thinking is right on the money, and thanks for bringing that question.
Pam does want to make a purchase. Pam in Florida. She said, my husband and I are in need of a new mattress. Ours is 7 years old and well worn. We've been shopping around and it's been very confusing and frustrating venture, not to mention the sticker shock. We both want to try it out before we buy, so buying sight unseen online is out of the question. When is a good time to buy, and how do we know what a good price is for a mattress?
Okay, we got to talk. All right. So I went through a journey on this as well with mattresses because the mattress market has gone through crazy, weird changes. So we have never had mattresses as expensive as we have right now and as inexpensive as we have right now. What they call the bottom bucket to the top bucket has never been wider than it is right now in the mattress market. And so if you go to a mattress store of some kind and they start showing you mattresses, and they'll always have a really terrible bargain price mattress. It'll be awful. And you and your husband will lay down on it, Pam, and you'll say, oh man, this is the worst thing ever. And the salesperson's setting you up, and they take you over to another one, and they'll say, try this one. It may be 10 times the price of the first one. Or they may go through a sequence of them. It's all a sales technique. The reality is you can get a really great mattress at a really good price. And I want to tell you a couple of things, and then I'm going to go to your thing about not wanting to buy online. Okay, so the mattress market has morphed so much, and Consumer Reports has done a great job rating mattresses. And if you don't have a subscription through your library, you may be able to see it for free or just buy one-time access. And you will learn so much about finding a mattress or narrowing in or zeroing in. Plus, there are specific places that are great to buy a mattress from. But my thing is I love now buying a mattress online. Opposite of what you said you want. And the reason for that is when you buy an online mattress from most online sellers, you either have pretty much an unlimited time to return that mattress for a full refund, or at least 3 or 4 months or 6 months to try it out. And if you don't like it, you get a full refund. Don't trust anybody who says that they will give you a credit towards another mattress. You want a full refund. But if you follow Consumer Reports as they explain different types and styles of mattresses, what this sleep experience is like for side sleepers, back sleepers, people sleeping on their stomach, that kind of stuff, you'll really be able to focus on a more narrow number of mattresses. And Consumer Reports has ratings that we have a summary of on Clark.com of physical stores also you can go to and do what you want to do and try out a mattress. But even with them, make sure you have the guarantee where if you don't like it for at least 3 months, you have the right to return for a refund.
And Dallas on our team wrote that article on Clark.com, and she also listed, she went through all these different retailers and listed what a queen size mattress costs as of November this month, 2024. So we have a very updated guide there. Troy in South Dakota says, "You're the first podcast I listen to every weekday during my hour-long morning commute, and I appreciate your advice.
Thank you.
I recently bought a 15-inch MacBook Air to browse the internet and check my financial accounts. Do you recommend using a VPN, antivirus software, ad blocker, password manager? And if so, what do you like?"
Okay, so Troy, let me say this to you. All right, so with a Mac, you already have really nice security built into a Mac. I think that is an advantage Macs have over Windows computers. They don't have it over Chromebooks. Chromebooks are very safe creatures from the ground up. On a virtual private network, the real advantage of a VPN is if you're using public Wi-Fi. If you routinely travel a lot with that Mac and you're on a variety of networks, you're not sure they're friend or foe, using a VPN is very much to your advantage. I don't feel any need, though, with that advanced MacBook you have, for you to add any kind of additional antivirus beyond what Apple already builds into the system. The third thing you said, password managers. I really like, if you're not able to come up with a systemic way to create very exotic passwords, to use a password manager for that. Now, you can always have the risk, like Krista had, that her password manager was hacked into. I mean, that has happened on more than one occasion, and then the criminals have a pretty useful entry possibly into your life and your passwords. But a password manager, I find, is worth that potential downside, because we tend to be creatures of habit and create passwords that are so patterned or the same that we're making it pretty easy for a criminal to get into our lives.